Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Guy. Well, we've got a whole pile we're going to kind of go through here today. We're going to focus mainly on, well, of course, Propaganda 101. CBC, with the help of CTV, the rest of the CRTC propaganda, are really trying hard to deplatform, or let's just say it, soft smear Pierre Poilievre. Now, this has been going on for a few weeks. I've been watching it kind of just as it's been building, and it started off kind of really subtle, and they've slowly started to accelerate it, and we're going to break into that. We're going to start off with the breaking news, of course, with what happened here today in the trial of those 5 hockey players. And from there, we're just going to completely destroy the propaganda. So, let's get started on this breaking news. And I apologize, I was actually ready to stream. I was even thinking about doing it live, but Starlink went down across the globe today. It was amazing. So I'm like trying to rig up my phone, and then all of a sudden it came on, and then it came off, and then all of a sudden I was having major connection issues with my phone, and it was a gong show. So we just got going here 20 minutes ago. So I'm hoping everything goes good. So yeah, been a crazy day. Anyways, let's get started on this.
At the courthouse in London, she joins me now. So Megan, take us through the rulings and what we heard from Justice Caracia.
Yeah, and I'm keeping my eye on the courthouse behind me, Andrew, because we are expecting plenty of reaction now that Justice Caracia has finished reading her ruling, which began hours ago here in London, around just before 10:30 this morning. And it took her several hours to lay out her ruling. I'll sort of take you through how the morning and afternoon have unfolded. Justice Caracia saying right at the beginning, virtually, when she started reading her ruling, that in this case, I have found actual consent, not vitiated by fear. I do not find the evidence of EM, who is the complainant, to be either credible or reliable. Justice Caracia going on to say, with respect to the charges before this court, having found that I cannot rely upon the evidence of EM, and then considering the evidence in this trial as a whole, I conclude that the Crown cannot meet its onus on any of the counts before me. So that kind of set the table, Andrew, for the next few hours. But it did take the judge time to go through. She recapped some of the key pieces of evidence that were heard at trial, including the testimony of EM, including the testimony of Carter Hart, one of the accused. He was the only one of the 5 to take the stand. She recapped those so-called consent videos that were introduced as evidence at trial. So she was going through all of that through her ruling, and then she kind of got into the analysis of that evidence, and basically determining what evidence she was accepting and what evidence she was rejecting. And ultimately, Andrew, I mean, the onus was on the Crown here, right? To prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. And there were 6 charges here. There are 5 accused, each charged with 1 count of sexual assault. Michael McLeod facing that 2nd charge of being a party to a sexual assault. Now, it all boils down to the judge saying she was left with reasonable doubt. At issue here was whether the sexual activity that occurred in that hotel room that night was consensual or not. The Crown and EM testifying it was not consensual. The defense lawyers for each of the 5 accused saying that EM was a willing participant in the sexual activity and that at times, in fact, she was instigating it. Now, the judge was saying because she was left with a reasonable doubt about consent, the next sort of step in her analysis and what she had to weigh and determine was whether the consent was vitiated, meaning was it sort of canceled out because of other factors. like fear. EM had testified that she was scared in the hotel room. She had testified she did not know that other men were going to come to the hotel room, and she was surprised when they started arriving. She had gone back to Michael McLeod's hotel room. The two of them engaged in consensual sex. It's what happened after that, when the other players arrived, that was at issue here in this trial. Now, the judge saying in her ruling that she essentially did not find any evidence that EM was truly fearful in the hotel room. And she pointed to one of the consent videos as part of her reasoning for that. There were 2 videos shot throughout the night.
All right. Now, propaganda has blown this case way out of proportion. When it first broke, I was paying attention to it like I do all news. I'm a father of a couple daughters. I totally understand the societal ignorance there is towards women. And I just want to make sure that I'm clear on stating this. We really have to look out and protect our women. Now, media, on the other hand, use tactics to try and blow things out of proportion for sound bites and video clips. After the first 3 weeks of evidence was coming out, before the first jury and everything was all dismissed and the chaos, and there was already enough evidence going on that this was all wrong. The charges were wrong. Everything about it was wrong. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't have went to court. I have no idea. I don't know all of the evidence because, of course, most of this stuff is kept confidential, which is good. That's fine. Protecting her identity, that is, I have no complaints with that at all. It's a good thing. And it's great that nobody's tried to leak it or protect her. We have to. But this is the scream wolf syndrome. Did something wrong, realized it, screamed wolf, didn't work out, all the evidence pointed the wrong way. Throughout this whole process, they have been pushing this masculinity, toxic masculinity. Now, of course, on the side, they're doing all of the, if you're in immediate danger, you call, and they've been having all of these different people. They've even gone on and had people come on saying that if this upsets you, you can call this number. Literally. Now, I'm not going to play any more of this. All the charges were dropped. All of them. These young men now have the rest of their lives where, because of the media, they will live with this on their shoulders till the day they decease. This is propaganda gone completely insane. Now, we're going to do a comparison. And again, I have nothing against the gay pride. Nothing. What they were fighting for in the beginning was perfectly justified. Having a whole month to do it? Sorry. You die for saving your country and the world, you get 1 day. You live for saving the world and suffer PTSD and the rest of it for the rest of your life, you get 1 day. Nobody deserves a month. So that part is already completely blown out of proportion. But the media wasn't getting on or allowing the public to see what has become of that entire protest. It's morphed into a complete, just completely degenerate display, where they want favoritism, they want special privileges, special rights. You can't say anything. You lose all of your rights to free speech. You lose all of your rights. All of that, they went crazy. Now, of my friends who are gay and lesbian, none of them go to the parades anymore. Because they see the insanity of it. And now all of the sponsors were backing out, and the media was hammering on them. Now, of course, this is that whole, and I'm going to get censored hardcore on this one, guys, but it's all of the, sexual innuendo, but they don't talk about that. Instead, they use it like it's these, you got to boycott all of these companies because obviously they don't believe in equal rights. They don't believe in freedom of speech. That's not what was going on. What was going on was this.
There's been a lot of outrage on social media about this year's Pride Parade in Toronto. If you saw the graphic images or attended the parade, you know what I'm talking about. We'll have some of the images from the parade shortly, and they have been blurred, but a warning that some of you may find some of the images disturbing. It seems that certain participants went way over the top and walked the parade completely naked, exposing themselves for many to see, including kids. Now, is that even legal? How were parade participants allowed to get away with that? Ari Goldkind is a criminal defense lawyer and joins us now from Toronto to give us his thoughts. Ari, let me ask you, is this even legal in Canada?
Well, it depends on who's in charge on a given day. Right now in the Canada we all have to live in, because it was a Pride Day or Pride Week, it now becomes, according to the Toronto Police Service in my city, this is now legal. But if you look up the basic definitions in section 173 and 174 of the Criminal Code, which are not written in complicated legalese, this is not only absolutely against the law, this is the kind of behavior that the law is geared to protect people against. One, from the point of view of exposure to somebody under the age of 16, and two, exposure to non-consenting adults.
Now, many people took to social media expressing their anger and their outrage that certain Pride participants exposed all, so to speak. The Toronto Sun reported that there have been some within the LGBTQ2+ community who were angered as well, as saying that that's not what Pride is really all about.
That's a really interesting talking point. I talk about that a lot in my political life too, that there really seems to be a disconnect between two segments of the LGB, and then you add in the T to that community, of just how much involvement there is in a desire to expose all kinds of lifestyles. And I'm not commenting on them. I'm a live and let live person. But the second that you're doing this, when you know that there are 5, 10, 15-year-olds there, whether or not 5, 10, 15-year-olds should be exposed to this, that's a longer conversation. But when it comes to the criminal law has two very specific sections about this. Section 173, which covers indecent act and exposure, and section 174, which is very, very specifically about nudity, whether you're on your own property or public property. And the fact that the Toronto police say, well, it's Pride Day, so it's one out of the 365 days in the calendar, and it's the only one that it's okay, that should raise an eyebrow. And the other thing that your viewers should know is that there are many sections of the criminal code now in the world that we live in that are really tailored to preventing people under the age of 16, kids under the age of 16, from being exposed to anything in the sexual realm. And when you look at the videos or the pictures of what these men were doing with lots of youngsters, I mean really young children, walking by them and a number of non-consenting adults, the Toronto Police Service, in my view, have demonstrated, and again, this is the byproduct of the world and the political time we live in, a tremendous amount of cowardice because they don't want to be called a name.
Thanks so much, Ari. That was Ari.
Now, all of this hidden from the public. This is what media's job is. Are we actually protecting the LGBTQ? Or are we allowing it to become something completely off the wall? In doing so, we give the entire organization a bad name, and you get fear, hate, and division, because there's those that see what's going on and speak up. They get called all types of names. You get those that see what's going on that don't say a word. You get those that are involved screaming at the top of their lungs that, of course, you must be, misogynistic and all the rest of those words. You get all of these spectrums. It starts dividing everybody when theoretically there's already laws in place to stop this from going on. But because of propaganda, it's become this the tainted black stain of what it is today. And businesses, because independent news media, myself and lots of others, are exposing this, trying to help. I'm a libertarian. I hold nothing against anybody. You breaking rules and laws, that's something totally different. I have my rights, you have yours. Mine shouldn't infringe on yours. Yours shouldn't infringe on mine, but you're free to do what you want to do. I'm free to do what I want to do. And I personally, I don't hold anything against anybody. I believe in equality. If you like the same sex, who am I to tell you what to do or what? I can't hold that against you. My gay and lesbian friends are awesome. They're amazing people. There's nothing different. The fact I have to actually say gay and lesbian friends is already kind of a toos. But media wants the division. They're creating the problems like they did to the 5 young men who have to live. Like I said, because their names have been smeared for no reason. No reason at all. All of the hype. And they're going, this court case is going to be talked about for years and all the bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. Not when all of that's going on, you start to domino out of control. Society starts to implode. Because you're allowing people to take others' rights away.
Well, turning now to a controversial performer booked in to put on a show at Gatineau's Jacques Cartier Park, Sean Foyt, an American Christian, has been criticized for his views on LGBTQ issues and for his ties to the Make America Great Again movement. CTV's Austin Lee joins us live now. And Austin, this is a developing story for us tonight, but many in our region frustrated today.
Yeah, that's right, Patricia. And much of that frustration comes from the fact that Jacques Cartier Park is a public land that's managed by the National Capital Commission. A similar show that was scheduled to go ahead in Halifax tonight at a national park was recently called off by Parks Canada, and people in our region now want the NCC to follow suit.
Canada, this is your hour of awakening.
Sean Foyt is a self-described missionary, musician, author, and founder of Global Movements. But his month-long cross-Canada tour is facing scrutiny, specifically the planned venues.
It's not about, canceling or holding someone accountable just because they don't agree with the same things we agree with. It's that it's in a public space.
Really? Like Pride? Like what the media has done to those 5 young men. Let alone the girl. But this is okay now. And because the media blew it up, looking at the wrong side, right away they were going, oh, this is a good thing because, he said some bad things, which they don't show. They don't show any proof of it. if he's against LGBTQ or whatever. Freedom of speech, people. If he is, I'm not impressed. Equality. I believe in equality. But freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression. They've started the narrative. Now, everywhere else feels like it's acceptable for them to take away the rights of others.
Our tax dollars are going to fund the space that this person is performing in.
The Christian artist ran for U.S. Congress as a Republican in 2020, and over the years he's spoken out against the LGBTQ2S+ community and abortion rights. Now his Canadian tour is set to make a stop at Jacques Cartier Park in Gatineau.
I'm Christian. Most of my friends are Christian. I don't think that there's anything Christian about his public stances on women or marginalized groups.
Oh, wait.
I bet you she hasn't read the Bible. Because if she did, she'd understand what she's doing is contrary to her own belief.
A wave of pushback flooded social media on Wednesday from people calling on the National Capital Commission to revoke his event permit.
My issue isn't that his values don't align with mine or that I have a difference of opinion politically wise. It's that it's a public space.
Hundreds saved, healed, delivered, set free, witchcraft broken.
A similar show was supposed to go ahead Wednesday at the York Rideau National Historic Site in Halifax, but Parks Canada pulled the plug, citing safety and security concerns. Foyt says the show will go on, just at a different venue. The mega musicians' permits to perform in both Charlottetown and Moncton on Thursday have also been revoked. Foyt did not respond to our request for comment in time for broadcast.
Why would he? Now, like I said, I don't know nothing about the guy. I'm not even going to look him up. I don't need to waste my time when I've got other things. I've got so many other things that are more important than trying to suppress people's freedoms. I'm here to expose that. Now, while all of this is going on, and they're saying how this whole trial and everything is like, this is the main news. It's not. Anybody on social media, anybody who is not married and have their head shoved up propaganda's butt, ankles up, elbows up, knows this is the big story. They want 7 years for Tamara Litch. They want 8 for Chris Barber. And they want to take Chris's truck, his livelihood, people, on mischief charges. Mischief charges.
Crown prosecutors in Ottawa are seeking an 8-year jail sentence for Chris Barber over his involvement in the peaceful Freedom Convoy protest that took place in Ottawa in 2022. The court is going to hear submissions from Crown prosecutors and from Chris Barber's lawyer on Wednesday, July 23rd and Thursday, July 24th. Even though this protest went on for 3 weeks, there was no vandalism, there was no violence, there was no uttering threats, there were no cars set on fire, there were no buildings set on fire. And it certainly did inconvenience some residents in Ottawa, but the protest would have ended a lot sooner if the Prime Minister had been willing to meet with the leaders and sit down with them and talk. I'm very grateful on behalf of the Justice Centre, on behalf of Chris Barber, for all of the support these last 3 years.
Now, again, propaganda isn't allowing those who were brainwashed to think that the Freedom Convoy was this nasty government takeover and they were all armed and they were trying to burn down buildings, and there's people out there that still believe this. This is how you divide a nation. Now, I had already mentioned on a previous episode that I don't have the capability, because I don't have the title to nominate someone for the Nobel Peace Prize. But right after that episode, I sent the link and posted it on a couple conservatives who were speaking up about it. Andrew Lawton, who is already voted in and has the power to do it, and Pierre Poilievre, who I think is going to win his by-election. We're going to dive into that in a little wee bit. They have the power to do it. This would shine the spotlight where it needs to be, on a fascist totalitarian government. And it would put propaganda in its place, because even the sheer recognition that these people were nominated would be enough for other people who are brainwashed and haven't got loose of it yet. Please like, share, and subscribe, because we need to get the voices out. We need people to see it in order for us to break the chains. If they hear it, they'd be going, what? Why would they get? Who the heck? What's going on? Ding! It would be that little nudge that a lot of people need to wake up. Because what they don't know is about things like this.
Oh, come on through. Come on through. What is happening here? Wow, what is this lady doing? Trampling. Trampling horses. Trampling. Stop it. Stop it. Look. Oh my God. Oh my God. They just trampled this lady. They just trampled that lady. They just fully trampled that lady. They just fully trampled that lady.
That was an Indigenous elder. Nothing on the media. Not a word. The other guy, hoof to the head. Not a word. I could go on and on and on. I urge you to watch, probably, I think it was my first episode that I was testing software. I did a Freedom Convoy video. Media allowed a vast amount of people in Canada to not understand what was really going on. This was a fight for freedom. This was one of the main dominoes that fell and is sliding, pushing Canada down, 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 down. Propaganda is what divided people. Yes, they honked their horns. Boo-hoo. What about all the other people, including myself, my family members, my friends, provinces, country, that lost their jobs, that weren't allowed to go out, that cried when they were forced to sit down and get pokey-poked? Nothing. Not a word. But they want 7 and 8 years for mischief.
25-year-old Logan Sieben was arrested and charged with arson causing mischief after a series of hay bales were set on fire near
30 fires. He lit 30 fires. They charged him with what?
Causing mischief after a series of hay bales were set on fire near Macklin in July and August of 2024. Court heard 30 suspicious fires were set in the area near Macklin. Sieben admitted to setting 3. At the time of his arrest, Macklin Fire Chief Justin Bass said Sieben was a member of the Macklin and District Fire Department. Court heard Sieben was a 25-year-old with no prior criminal record but had been dealing with significant health issues since 2017, with what was described as a mental health spiral in April 2024. The judge acknowledged Sieben's conduct was very much out of character, that he had apologized.
This could have been catastrophic. not only did it cost those farmers hundreds of thousands of dollars, if it wasn't for the quick response and the conditions, moist conditions, this could have been one of the worst wildfires in Canada's history.
And was taking counseling for mental health. The Crown says Siebens' quick admission saves significant court resources, as 10 to 14 witnesses would be required. It also acknowledged Sieben had been complying with conditions. He appeared with family at a courthouse in Unity Monday for sentencing. Sieben was sentenced to 18 months of probation, 200 hours community service, counseling, and the condition not to possess any fire-starting equipment like matches or lighters.
18 months probation. 200 community hours.
When speaking to the court, Sieben said, quote, "I'm truly sorry, and I'll do everything I can to make it right." John Flatters, CTV News, Unity.
What they're not telling you is that there's a $67,000+ bill just from the fire department. You gotta remember, that's just cost. Most of those firefighters are volunteer. 67,000+, absorbed by who? Oh, the town of Unity. That they never got. What about the farmers? Those that weren't insured? Now, I tried digging into it and finding. Hard to find. Not worth the dig, really. Because it's all right there. The judge said, no, we're going to waive that. He doesn't need to pay that, work that off. No. Mischief. Interesting. Incredibly interesting. In the meantime, Chris Dacey. This guy's awesome. You want to know what's going on in Ottawa? Check him out. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I use him often. He's there. If a politician squeezes the cheeks wrong, he's there. Watch this. This is the epitome of your tax dollars who subsidize the propaganda. Well, watch.
So important when you have a budget. It's CBC here. Guys.
Now he says right on there, Tamara Lich arrives at Ottawa Courthouse for day 2 of sentencing and submissions. Over $1 billion in government funding, multiple camera crews with tens of thousands worth of equipment and on-site parking. Versus one Chris Dacey with a cell phone.
Morning. You guys missed your shot. Oh, you missed the shot? Oh, you missed the backyard. Guys, you got like $40,000 worth of equipment here and 8 guys, and they missed the shot. Multiple mainstream media news crews here. Got like 40 or 50K worth of cameras. 8 people. And they all missed the shot. Their vehicles are all parked here in the fire lane.
In the fire lane!
Easy Media. It's got you covered.
You do, Chris, and thank you for all you do. Thank you. Parked in the fire lane. Special permits, they're allowed to do this. All sitting around. John on how they're screwing Canada over with propaganda. When the biggest story going on right now, the biggest story is what's going on with Tamara Lich. Rumor came out, I gotta double check this, so this isn't a fact, but rumor came out just before I was recording this, that there's some lawyers down in the States that are saying if these charges go through, they want the administration down there to punish Canada because of it. Well, it only makes sense. The whole world should be punishing Canada for what they've done to these two already. This has been going on for years. This is ridiculous. political prisoners. This is all politics. The media won't say anything until they have a bite. The bite will be negative news. They're waiting for negative news. They don't want the people to get enough news beforehand to fill in all of the spaces. No. Not propaganda. That's not what they want to do. What else is exploding? What else is huge news? Well, Eva Chipiuk, one of the lawyers for the Freedom Convoy. RBC just said, sorry, you've been debanked. Done deal. Well, at what point is a bank allowed to do this? Oh, right. They were given permission from Carney. Well, Carney told Trudeau what to do, and the turd did it. And Chrystia Freeland and all the rest of these minions, these sycophants, these psychotic green zealots, trying any which way backed by propaganda, abused more rights and seized bank accounts. Now the funny thing is that in court, the judge who's hearing the case didn't know the government seized bank accounts. Yeah. Right there. The entire case should have been thrown out. But no. Now she's informed, I guess. Here's the conversation that happened with Eva.
So what was your first question again?
The first question was, how did you learn about this opportunity with the cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I was at a Bitcoin conference.
Okay. Is there a third...
So this is their excuse, is that she moved some money so she could purchase Bitcoin.
involved, or is this all on your own merit?
Yeah, it's all on my own merit, and just for the recording, I'm doing this totally against my will because Royal Bank is not allowing me to access my own money without these questions being answered that I totally am not comfortable with. Okay. Continue.
Do you have full access to your own crypto wallet?
Yes, I do.
No one else has access. Okay. Are you able to withdraw funds from there if you need from the cryptocurrency?
Of course I can. It's much easier than the way Royal Bank is treating me at the moment, in fact.
That's fair.
Listen to her. She's a lawyer. She's smart. Not only is she recording it, listen to what she's saying. Well, of course I can. Easier than it is here at the bank.
I'm just asking you some questions.
Yeah,
that
which
are policy.
That you've made up.
Were you promised a specific rate of return?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Were you asked to install any software on your computer?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. How long have you been investing in crypto approximately? Is this a brand new thing?
No, years.
Years? Okay. And you are able to sign into the crypto website yourself, sell, trade, and withdraw all on your own?
Much easier than with the Royal Bank as I'm experiencing right now.
I will answer those.
Right? This is insanity. This is insanity. And meanwhile, here's the bank. iShares Bitcoin ETF. Investment objectives. Seeks to reflect generally the performance of the price of Bitcoin before payment of the ETF's expenses and liabilities. Trading information. They allow you to do it, but you got to do it through them. They need to make money. They need to control it. They don't want to dole out your cash to you. They don't want you to have your cash. No. They want digital currency. Trump wants in. The banks is one of the major problems in Canada. Countries around the world have been trying to get in. Not only would it save Canadians, oh my God, lots of money. We get better interest rates. You get better loans. These banks jumped when the Liberal government said, we want to seize accounts, which is illegal. It's illegal. A court's already ruled on it. It's illegal. Again, propaganda is allowing this to domino out of control because people aren't aware, no voices are speaking up. Like, share, and subscribe, please. Now, here's one of the ladies she represents. I follow Carrie. I have been watching her since this whole injury happened. This is Carrie Sakamoto's post. Can't stop, won't stop, especially with Eva Chipiuk in court fighting for justice for the jab injured. Yesterday was a big day. I was cross-examined. I have memory loss, and it's from the medication I take. It has made my life very difficult. I feel like I did okay, though. If you can, donate to Carrie. Her legal costs, the trips, the hotels, and the loss of her everyday life has been changed forever because of the government. Now, I'm actually going to give Global a little wee bit of credit, but they're not pushing this. And again, this is media. How many of you out there knew this?
After our series first aired, we've heard from injured and ill people right across the country who are outraged and say they too have been battling with the Vaccine Injury Support Program for months, sometimes years. Now, elected officials are speaking out saying something needs to be done about it.
This is a real scandal, and we can't let go of it.
Ontario Conservative MP Matt Strauss is a former ICU doctor and former acting medical officer of health.
Of course, I agree that vaccines are effective.
He says it's shocking that many ill and injured people turning to the Vaccine Injury Support Program say they are not getting the fair and timely access to financial support that was promised, as revealed in a Global News investigation.
When $50 million goes into a program and only $16 million of those dollars reach the people who were hurt that the government was supposed to help, I think there needs to be buckets of apologies from all sorts of places.
Other politicians are demanding action from the Liberal government as well.
They've got to get to the bottom of this right away.
One of the issues interim NDP leader Don Davies points to, the decision by the Public Health Agency of Canada to outsource the administration of the program to a consulting firm called Oxaro.
Third party to their
emblematic
friends.
of a government that has become addicted to the use of outside consultants without proper oversight by the government. And so we're wasting hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars.
I'm horrified that it seems that it's been handled just so very badly.
The risk of not getting this program right, says this medical ethicist, is a further erosion of trust in vaccines.
The public will see not only, are some people pushing back on vaccines, but even if something goes wrong, you're not going to get support. And that would be very, very problematic.
The Public Health Agency of Canada has initiated a compliance audit of the program, and the federal health minister says all options are on the table. But the ill and injured are still
Famous
waiting.
words. Now, as always, I post all the links in the description so that my audience can have access to it. Freedom, people, in order to get the truth. Sorry, so sorry, just the truth, just the facts out there. If you look deep in Global News, follow this and look deep, you will find the actual little docu whatever they did, and you will see that of the $50-some million, it's like 21% has been doled out. The rest was all paid to their employees. Yes. So they're going to be coming back for more money when you have this going on.
I didn't feel like I was there to work. I felt like I was there to kind of hang out and socialize.
This former employee, whose identity we've agreed to protect for fear of repercussions, says working at the Vaccine Injury Support Program felt like high school.
There was definitely no shortage of phones out, watching YouTube. The slushie machine was cool. Ping pong was definitely a regular thing.
The federal government hired a company called Oxaro to run the program and paid them $50.6 million. Global News spoke with more than a dozen current and former Oxaro employees, whose comments included working there was a joke, with drinking Fridays, inexperienced underpaid staff who weren't properly trained.
I don't think anyone actually understood the severity or the relevance of the program that was being contracted to the firm.
The Vaccine Injury Support Program, or VISP, was created to provide financial support to people who are seriously and permanently injured by vaccines. People like Ross Whiteman.
They're just doing a piss poor job of supporting the vulnerable.
A former commercial pilot and realtor, Ross was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome after receiving his COVID vaccine.
The kicker to this is that it's not just that all of these positions are filled by, well, mostly liberal friends and family. These people are all part of the new liberal order. They don't care about you. They don't care about your rights. It's not just these small third-party outlets. It's the entire system. And that's why you get this. Canada bans Netflix after employees caught binge-watching at work. You're paying for this. Your tax dollars. Very high-wage, full benefits, dental health, you name it, man. Moving costs, the whole kit and caboodle. Your tax dollars are paying for all of these people. Why isn't the media talking about this? Agenda. It's all propaganda. The decision follows a report that government workers streamed terabytes of video content during office hours across 45 departments. Documents obtained by the state broadcaster revealed that employees at Public Services and Procurement Canada alone generated nearly 3 terabytes of monthly streaming traffic, equivalent to 3,000 hours of standard definition video. Other departments, including the Privy Council Office, Global Affairs Canada, and the Canadian Revenue Agency, also logged significant streaming activity. I post everything. Read the full article. This is our government. They don't care about you. All they care about is themselves. Elbows up, ankles higher. These people, they're destroying our nation. And it all comes to the fact of propaganda, the strongest arm of a fascist, totalitarian, communistic, socialistic governments. This is how they stay in power. And in the meantime, we have to battle, oh my God, we have to battle a new version of this coming up.
As a member of the opposition party in Canada, I want to show you what I'm up against to just get basic information out about what the Liberal government is doing. I want to show you what I'm up against, and I'm here to ask for your help. So this was an article that came out a couple of weeks ago, and it says, Liberals taking a fresh look at online harms bill, Justice Minister says. So what this means is that the Liberals are thinking about reintroducing in the fall the next iteration of C-63. You'll remember that even noted Canadian author Margaret Atwood, she had called the bill Orwellian, and this is not a conservative woman. But this article here, it says that they're considering putting it in place again in the fall. So we're going to have to fight that, okay? But what do these censorship bills do? Bill C-18, Bill C-11, and now we're going to try again with this. What it does is it makes it harder for me to get information to you and my colleagues about what the Liberals are doing, right? Because they're trying to suppress voices that just...
It's not just her. It's all media. I get censored hardcore. I'm talking big time. Why? Well, I don't believe in censorship. And I don't want to talk to my audience like they're children. I want to get the news out. The truth. Sorry, so sorry. Just the truth, just the facts. I want to report on everything. I believe that my subscribers should be able to hear what's really going on. I believe I should have the right to freedom of speech, expression, religion, and all the rest that this government has censored. No News on Facebook crushed a lot of independent media. And then you have the election interference. Not a lot of people are talking about this. Like I said, I've been watching this. I've been hearing it. It all starts slow.
Voters in the riding of Battle River Crowfoot are set to head back to the polls less than 4 months after April's federal election. Conservative MP Damien Carrick won the riding with more than 82% of the vote. But after Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre lost his Ottawa area seat, Carrick resigned, and that resignation has triggered a by-election and cleared the way for Poilievre to run in what's seen as one of the safest Conservative ridings in the country. Now, that by-election is set for August 18th, and Pierre Poilievre won't be the only person on the ballot. Bonnie Critchley is running as an independent candidate in the upcoming by.
Boom. This lady's name starts popping up. Who is she? Who cares? She's a nobody. What's going on is that there is another one of these longest ballots, which I exposed previous episodes. I was one of the first, if not the first, to actually report on it, put out the names of who they were, the people who were actually deceased that were on the ballot, exposed it for what it was. This is election interference. This is CBC liberal propaganda. Listen carefully.
If he beats me, it's not going to be by much. I can tell you he's going to get 50, maybe 60 max if he beats me.
You think it's that close? What gives you that level of confidence? Do you have polling data? Do you have organization, fundraising? Tell me what makes you so confident of that.
Listen to the words, the triggers. My full-time subscribers are already keen to this, I know, because of the emails that I get, the comments I get. They're catching on. They're seeing it. The more you recognize and study propaganda, you can't miss it. It's unavoidable. It hits you like a brick at 80 miles an hour. The words.
Just literally, I'm going door to door and talking to my neighbors. And there are people who voted for Damien, and they like Damien, and then he sold us out. And especially rural Albertans tend to be an independent lot, and we don't like being used. We don't like our answers being assumed. And that's what's going on right now. And yes, on paper, this is a very conservative area, which is why I'm running a right of center, but centrist campaign. And
you heard that, right? Right of center, centrist campaign. She used words like they're very independent, pointing to the people. She's running as a independent. Everything she's saying is propaganda.
I am a palatable alternative
Palatable?
to the Conservative Party who has sold them out.
Why did you decide to run as an independent? The other major national parties, at least the New Democrats and the Liberals, are running candidates there. I know it's tough for people to run and vote Liberal in Alberta historically, but the New Democrats have seats there. They form government there in the recent past. And Mark Carney seems to be a more palatable Liberal, I think.
Palatable? When you repeat something over and over and over, I'm sure you all know the rest and are probably already saying it. People begin to believe it.
For a lot of people in Alberta, why not look at those options? Why run independent instead?
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Mark Carney is a progressive conservative in a Liberal suit. But the reason I ran independent is two reasons. The first being that obviously I can't run for the CPC. The second being that
you notice she's center right as well. You seeing this? Now I'm not going to give this any more time of day because this has been ongoing, and because of independent media and social media all talking about this insane longest ballot, they start bringing up the longest ballot. But listen to how they talk about it. And cue the visual optics. Always pay attention to the visual optics as well.
More than 140 candidates will be squaring off against Pierre Poilievre in next month's by-election for the federal riding of Battle River Crowfoot. While the majority are protest candidates, some believe they have a real chance. CTV's Merrick Takash spoke with a few of them.
Running against the federal conservative machine.
Listen to the words, machine.
A tall task for independents like Bonnie Critchley.
It is very important to me that Battle River Crowfoot gets to have a voice in Parliament.
Critchley's run triggered by the resignation of the riding's former MP.
It doesn't end there. Episode after episode.
But another independent candidate says protests like these can be detrimental.
There is absolutely no way on the ballot to differ.
She gets more airtime than Pierre Poilievre does, than the NDP candidate, than the Liberal candidate. If there is even a Liberal candidate there, they'd be crazy to be one. Do you see where I'm going with this? This is election interference. They are literally brainwashing people. Anybody watching any of these propaganda, state-funded media, CTV, CBC, the whole lot of them, CRTC, this is what they're being brainwashed to. It never ends. Clip after clip after clip. Look at the names.
Pierre Poilievre now running for a seat in Alberta, but facing déjà vu in the form of an extremely...
Look at the name! Right there in your face! Slightly out of focus, right? Back it up a little wee bit. Slightly out of focus. It's there. Propaganda. It never ends. Now, actually, I should play this because...
Facing déjà vu in the form of an extremely packed ballot.
I've never seen anything like that.
Much like the federal...
Listen to how sound bites and video clips...
election where we lost his Ottawa seat, a non-partisan group called the Longest Ballot Committee is signing up candidates in his new riding. It's calling for electoral reform, in this case by getting nearly 200 people to run.
This is a scam, it is unfair, it is unjust, and it must stop.
These are...
See, they picked out kind of the aggressive part. I'm not going to play the whole clip again, I'm going to run out of time. This is a longer version. Listen to what he actually says.
Now, there are ways you can fix this. We could simply, for example, say that everybody who gets on the ballot should have to have 1,000.
Do you hear the acoustics in the hall? Do you hear it? It's not aggressive. He's talking boisterously. The media uses every single... they will twist anything. Listen to the entirety.
Unique signatures from residents in the community, and that no one can sign such a petition twice. That would make it impossible for 200 people to go out and have their names piled onto the list. There are a number of other things that you could do that would make it so that only real candidates who are truly running to put their name forward in our democracy are on that list. But either way, we have to take action because this is a scam. It is unfair, it is unjust, and it must stop. Now,
See how different it is when you actually hear it in full? You understand the room. Propaganda, reality. Now, listen to Damien Kirk's, and I'm not going to play the whole thing. Again, you can watch it. I post all the links are there, but listen to what he says.
And Mr. Speaker, we get into politics for a reason. And when I first put my name forward to run in 2019, there is things that you stand for and believe in. Things like putting Canada first, no matter what the circumstances. Things like ensuring that you are always going to put your country first when it comes to the deliberations in this place, when it comes to your actions. And Mr. Speaker, that is why I am so proud to stand with Danielle and stand with my family and offer my seat, to offer to resign my seat to Pierre Poilievre, the leader of Canada's Conservatives, because that man, I truly believe, is the right man to lead this party, to be the leader of the opposition in this Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, my belief before and my belief remains today that Pierre Poilievre is the right man to be Prime Minister of Canada.
Now, if media was serious, even though they want to push their own candidate in order to cause a division of votes, anything possible to try to stop the leader of the opposition. Got to remember, they've done this with how many leaders now? Right? Personally, one of them, O'Toole, the Tool, yeah, he was never a conservative to begin with. But Scheer, what they did to Scheer, unbelievable. Why didn't they at least play that as Kachuku was going off about how all of the verbal diarrhea she was blabbing out about him, like he gave up, he whimpered out. How about telling the viewing audience, well, you do know he gave up his pension, right? Not like Jagmeet Singh, who destroyed a nation to get his. How about some reality? No. Propaganda.
It is time to finally defund the CBC. Viewership is plummeting. Costs are rising, with the CBC costing taxpayers over $1.4 billion a year. There is a huge lack of transparency within the organization. And then, of course, there's a simple reality that journalists should not be having their salaries paid for by the government and therefore we, the taxpayer. How can journalists be fully accountable and hold the government to account if they owe their entire salaries to the government? That is the reality of the CBC's existence. But as if millions of Canadians who support defunding the CBC or privatizing the CBC needed a reminder as to why this needs to happen, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation released information this week that shows that the CBC is trying to have its cake and eat it too. What do I mean by that? Well, there was a scandal that broke a couple of years ago that the CBC was handing out bonuses to executive level employees when at the same...
Now, great clip. I did it because I really like Jay. He puts these little clips together, and I urge you, it's in the description. Click and watch the entirety. But let's just go right to the horse and hear what happened, what they found.
I wanted to start with this headline that kind of skittered around saying, oh, the CBC is doing away with its problematic bonuses. I thought that sounded like malarkey, and then it turns out that it was. Franco, what's the CBC doing? Are they actually rolling back bonuses and reducing pay and they're wising up?
Well, yeah, you might remember it was like 2 months ago, right? These headlines like the CBC canceling bonuses. Well, we just got some access to information records and here's what those records show. Okay, yes, they canceled the bonuses, right? But they just handed out record pay raises. Record pay raises. Okay, so the documents that we show, yes, the bonuses were zero, but then they turned around and handed out $38 million in bonuses. $38 million in bonuses. So like, look, you're not really saving taxpayers money. if you switch a taxpayer-funded bonus into a higher taxpayer-funded pay raise, right? So that's exactly what the CBC did. They did a sleight of hand. They're not saving taxpayers money. They didn't listen to Canadians. They misunderstood the assignment. What they're essentially doing is giving their bureaucrats built-in bonuses with higher pay raises. Okay, so let me just break down these numbers, then we can kind of get into the history of this fight.
Listen carefully.
Last year they handed out $38 million in pay raises. That is a record high, significantly higher than the pay raises in previous years. Okay, the year before that they handed out $11.5 million in pay raises. So
Franco,
pay raises,
that sounds like more money. Like I'm
that's
not
more
money.
yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
like more.
Beep boop, beep boop. They went from $11.5 million to $38 million in pay raises. Okay, so yeah, they ended what they called a bonus, but then they just turned around and massively increased pay raises, an increase of about $26 million, which more than offsets the previous bonuses that they were handing out. So, look, I don't think taxpayers care what the CBC calls its extra pay. Taxpayers just want the CBC to stop wasting so much money, and clearly they misunderstood the assignment here.
Thank you, Franco, and all of you who work at the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. This group is amazing. They are amazing. They look out for your tax dollars like nobody else. And they fight. They'll go to court. These people are amazing. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you are, punch the notification bell. It not only helps me grow the channel, but you won't miss any episodes. Now, on the shirts, having some issues with the clothing. The decals that I got, they're really good quality. The shirts are really good quality. I'm getting a lot of feedback on them. Even the shipping, people are very happy with. So thank you all for your compliments. I want to make sure that when you support my channel, I'm not sending you trash. I'm sending you good quality merch. Now, I'm wearing one of them here today. Of course, I got my camera reversed because of the way my studio is set up so that I am full functioning with all of the different monitors that I use so that my hands match where I'm going and looking. And so this is a little bit backwards. Now, I wasn't aware that the black on the gray was that bad. It looked a little wee bit lighter. So I'm probably just going to go on and I'm not going to make this one anymore. I'll be getting rid of this. But this is the Ethos shirt. And then here is, again, it's backwards, so sorry, just the truth, just the facts. Really good quality there, people, and like I said, the prints are really, they're nice. Like, even the small Canadian Citizen Journal logo, look at the quality of that. High definition. Like I said, I go out of my way. I had to learn a whole pile of software in order to make sure that I was creating really good decals to match the really good quality of the clothing. So for those of you who have been purchasing, thank you so much. I only get a small percentage of it, but the fact that you're wearing my stuff around helps get the word out, and the little wee bit I get off of them, it helps. I don't make any money. I don't make nothing. I don't have enough viewers, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Anyways, until the next time, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I'm Alias Tagay. Stay informed.